Hello, my dear friends. My name is Andrew Emmons, and I'm recording this while being hospitalized because I have a bipolar disorder type 1 and military service has declined in my health. So it got me thinking about a banknote without gold, how one institution printed two currencies for a single molecule. Юра, да ты заткнешься чи ні? Consider a sentence a hospital says about itself. We exist to protect human life. It is among the most expensive sentences a society can issue. We treat it the way a central bank treats its highest denomination note, a fully backed, redeemable on demand, beyond suspicion. The question this essay asks is what happens to that note when the institution issuing it is also quietly running the printing press in the opposite direction. The answer is written in the opioid American problem. And it is written in a currency that does not inflate metaphorically, it inflates in bodies. Let's start with a single demonstration of what American Health Administration allowed to happen. Coca-Cola original taste with all the sugar you can drink. And I'll add it to coffee. It's a coffee stick. Because I need all of the caffeine I can take. Delicious. Never before seen. The gap between the word and the deed. Let's begin with a simple instrument for measuring the health of any statement. Take what is said, the declared word, and set it beside what is done, the embodied deed. Call the distance between them delta. When delta is small, the statement is honest. Word and deed coincide. When the word reliably promises more than the deed delivers, delta grows and the statement begins to inflate. It circulates at a face value. Its backing cannot redeem. A medical system issues one of the highest risk delta notes in any language, the value of human life. Its backing is supposed to be literal, protocols, oaths, oversight, the refusal to do harm. On paper, the note is called. Now the deed beneath it. Beginning in 1996, Purdue Pharma marketed OxyContin to physicians as carrying a low risk of addiction. The claim was false, and the company would later admit as much in federal court. Note: in 2007, Purdue Pharma pleaded guilty to a federal felony charge of misbranding and paid more than $600 million. The company acknowledged having falsely promoted OxyContin as less addictive, less subject to abuse, and less likely to cause dependence rather than other opioids. The Sackler family withdrew more than $10 billion from the company. A nationwide settlement finalized in 2025-2026 totals roughly $6.4 billion. Source you can see on the screen. The marketing was not an error but a strategy. Representatives sought out doctors already inclined to prescribe opioids and pressed them to prescribe more, longer, at higher doses. In the company's own internal language, OxyContin was a cash cow. The deed beneath the note was the sale. The note's real backing was revenue. The bill came due in a currency no marketing department could spin. Roughly 1.25 million overdose deaths in the United States since 1999, with opioids implicated in about 3/4 of them. Note 2. CDC figures roughly 1.25 million overdose deaths since 1999, with opioids implicated in about 3/4 of them. Deaths involving prescription opioids alone rose from 3.442 in 1999 to 17.029 in 2017. Figures are given as orders of magnitude, not as an exact ledger. Sources on the screen. Where were we? No, 2. Somewhere in the text. The sentence, "we protect human life," held its face value while its purchasing power collapsed. That is inflation in its purest form, the denomination unchanged, the redemption value measured in graves. 2 currencies, 1 molecule. If the essay stopped here, it would be one more indictment of corporate greed, and it would add nothing we did not already know. The interesting part begins one step later, with a concept worth naming precisely. What is never issued in the abstract, it is issued in a particular register, a kind of currency, and the mind reads it at the exchange rate of whatever register it is in at the moment of reading. A clinical register demands literal backing. Did the thing happen? Is it true? A moral register demands a different backing. Is this condemned? Is this sanctioned? The same words can be sound in one register and counterfeit in the other. Hold that in mind, because the American state issued 2 notes for the same molecule in 2 different currencies at the same time. Through the pharmacy, it dispensed opioids in the register of medical care. Through the courts, it waged a war on drugs in the register of moral condemnation. Roughly $1 trillion since 1971. Rates of use essentially unchanged, 1 in 5 prisoners held for a drug offense. Note 3. By various estimates, University of Pennsylvania Drug Policy Alliance, the war on drugs has cost the United States roughly $1 trillion since 1971, while rates of use have remained largely flat. About 1 in 5 incarcerated people in the United States is held for a drug offense. Sources on the screen. Where were we? The same chemical on a street corner was a crime that filled a prison. In a prescription pad, it was a treatment that filled a quarterly report. This is not ordinary hypocrisy. It is a register mismatched, installed inside the institution itself. A single issuer printed both notes. The drug is an evil we punish, and the opioid is a care we prescribe. And as long as the press stayed in the same hands, the public lost the one capacity that protects a currency: the ability to ask which register a note was issued in. Clinical and moral registered blurred until the molecule was weighed not by what it did, but by which door of the institution presented it. Why this is the benchmark, not the exception. The deepest form of speech hyperinflation is not a society that talks too much. It is a society that has lost the ability to ask what currency it is being paid in. The opioid case is the cleanest illustration of that loss at the scale of an institution rather than an individual. Watch what is destroyed. A patient can no longer read the note, "These are safe medicines," against its backing, because the issuer is the very same authority that punishes dangerous drugs, and therefore commands the full trust of the moral register. The exchange board has been forged at the level of the state. What one window calls a crime, the next window calls care, and both signs are authentic to the institution that hung them. This is inflation as the loss of the board itself. Not too many pills, but the impossibility of asking what any given note is actually backed by. And here the case closes on an old epistemic rule, one older than any clinic: no verdict from a single source. No diagnosis is made from one angle. The 5-minute diagnosis is forbidden. The opioid crisis is what happens to an entire state when the only source of its self-diagnosis is the issuer of the note. The system diagnosed itself from one angle, its own revenue, and wrote a prescription that killed 1 million people. We demand the second angle precisely because we have seen the price of the first. The discipline of the body count. 2 things follow, and both are guardrails rather than flourishes. First, the case dissolves a distinction that looked clean. We are tempted to separate two kinds of inflation: the empty note, a claim with no deed beneath it, and the register mismatch, a real deed presented in the wrong currency. The opioid crisis shows that these are not two phenomena but two scales of one. At the limit, the empty note, the medicine is safe, and the register mismatch, a crime against a care, fuse into a single mechanism, an issuer printing both currencies and thereby abolishing the exchange rate between them. Second, the case gives the whole inquiry a safety limit. A banknote without gold is not a turn of phrase here. In the opioid case, it has a death toll and a settlement figure. The next time an institution wants to call someone's sentence inflated, the scale is worth checking. Here, the hyperinflation of a word cost 1 million lives and is being redeemed after the fact with roughly $7 billion of backing carried in by the spoonful. The term names a disease with a body count, not a rhetorical maneuver, and anyone who reaches for it as a weapon should first weigh what it actually measures. The way out is the one the series always arrives at, now visible at the scale of a state. A monetary reform of speech means repegging the word to the deed, and above all, restoring the public's right to ask in which register a note was issued and who issued it. As long as one hand prints both currencies, no declaration of the value of life is worth the gold it claims to stand on. This essay belongs to the series The Age of Speech Hyperinflation. Figures are drawn from open data published by the CDC, NIDA, the US Congress, and reporting on the Purdue Pharma settlement, and are presented as orders of magnitude. Thank you for your attention. Have a great day.